This is truly a global problem, and since the Paris Accord was signed in 2015, four land and environmental defenders have been murdered every week. And as our report shows, last year was the bloodiest year on record, with 212 people killed for standing up for their land, for standing up to protect our environment, and for standing up to their rights. Now, what's shocking is that around half of those killings occurred in just two countries, in Colombia with 64 murders and in the Philippines with 43. But as I say, this is a really a global issue. And just at this moment, when the voices of these activists are needed more than ever to help us decide how we're going to have a green recovery after the pandemic, how we're going to tackle climate change, they're facing attacks, they're facing the threat of imprisonment, and they're facing murders in higher numbers than ever. Often they're calling out big businesses that are carrying out abuses, some of whom have European investment. And that's why we're calling on not only the governments of places like the Philippines and Colombia to provide justice, to provide protection for these activists, but we're also calling on the EU and others to put in place regulations to make sure that their businesses aren't associated with these kinds of threats and attacks.
You call it a front line. It does certainly, the examples you've given up and the statistics show it can be extremely dangerous. There have been, though, some fairly significant wins for these environmental defenders over the last year. Could you just give us a couple of examples?
That's a really good point. And for example, in Ecuador, we've seen an indigenous tribe that is literally protecting vital forests that are not just vital for the sustainability of life in Ecuador, but also for all of us. These are the kinds of forests that trap a lot of carbon, that make sure that environmental crisis can be averted, and that those forests have been under threat because mining projects and forest deforestation projects have wanted to move in. Now, they've been protesting for years. They've been protesting physically. They've also had court cases, and they've won those cases and have been able to protect those forests. That's great news for them, but it's also great news for all of us. And it's an example of the kind of wins that environmentalists are looking for that will help to protect the future of our planet.